You've thought about taking your dog on a road trip, right? But is it a good idea? You imagine all those amazing experiences of hiking together, windows open, ears flapping, going through some drive-through and getting a pup cup and just having the best time together. But at the end of the day, is your dog going to have fun? Is your dog going to be safe? Are you going to have fun? Yikes, it's a lot to think about. And how do you know how to make the best decision? Hi, I'm Bing from Wonder Bing Travel, and on this channel, I teach and share with you how a solo road trip can provide joy and peace and freedom in your life, and in some cases, how you can successfully do that with your four-legged friend. I've written a new book and it's available on Amazon. I'll put the link in the description. I tell you this because there is an entire chapter on dog travel. The book is called There's Wonder Around the Bend. It's an inspiring guide for solo road trippers. But I have an entire chapter called Dog on Board at the back of the book that will guide you through the process, not only to determine if your dog is a good candidate for a road trip, but also the safety measures to take, all the good things, all the hard things about having your dog along with you, and some stories about taking my own dog, Lexi, that come along with doggy travel. In this video, we are going to weigh 3 important factors to determine if your dog is a good fit for a solo road trip or really any road trip with you. And I promise you that I will give you the tools you need to make that decision today. And I have an incredibly helpful resource that I can share with you. If you stick around to the end of the video, you're not going to want to leave home without this. Also, the basic outline and talking points for this video are listed in the description below for your reference. So I have had dogs who are great road trippers and others, well, let's just say it would be a complete disaster. This is my girl, Lexington Hope, better known as Lexi the Golden, and she has been road tripping for me for tens of thousands of miles in her 5.5 years of life. She's a professional road tripper now and can't wait to get in the car with me and head out this summer. So a lot of what I talk about in my book, There's Wonder Around the Bend, is the pursuit of not just a checklist mentality when you road trip, but really seeking change in your life and freedom and wonder. And so please, I do encourage you to get the book if that's of any interest to you. Today, though, we're going to put a lot of that aside just for a few minutes because we really do need to consider the practical side of taking your dog on the road. Those practicalities are important for your sake and also for the sake of that puppy that you love so much. So please thoughtfully consider the benefits as well as the responsibilities of including your dog in your travels. So there are valid reasons why most people choose not to travel with their pets. It's more complicated. It can be more expensive, and pets who are poor travelers, they can be sick, miserable, and generally unhappy away from home, and then of course you are miserable as well and really wishing you had just left them at home. If it's not the right fit, having your dog with you can be way more of a detriment and a distraction from your pursuit of a really enjoyable road trip full of freedom and wonder, and it can tie you down and hinder you. It also creates an unhappy experience for your little faithful companion as well. We love them so much, and it's worth exploring whether both you and your pet will be blessed by being together on the road. So as I said, we're going to consider 3 important factors for you to weigh your decision whether to include your dog on your road trip. The first one is temperament. And there are quite a few ways to think about this, so let's go through each one quickly. The first one is riding in the car. Does your dog enjoy being in the car for long periods of time? And if you don't know the answer to that question, then I suggest that you take your dog on some longer, increasingly longer rides, just running errands or visiting family or whatever, so that you can build up their stamina and find out if they enjoy being in the car. That's so important, obviously, to having your dog with you on a road trip. I also purposely am going to use the word enjoy and not tolerate because it needs to be fun for them. If it's not, then it's not fun for you either. Also, relative to temperament is barking. Is your dog a barker? If your dog is a barker, consider those types of situations or places where this could be a problem for you, it could be a problem for your pet, and obviously for other people around you. So definitely something to weigh. The next one is size. So does your vehicle provide enough room for your dog to be comfortable on longer trips especially? Also know that in many cases, if you have a larger dog, you will be charged more for that pet fee at a hotel. And sometimes smaller dogs are welcome where larger dogs aren't. So that's something to keep in mind as well. Also related to temperament is behavior. Does your dog always come when called? Does your dog behave well around strangers? Is your dog ever aggressive in any way that might upset or harm other people? These are things to consider, especially when your dog's out of its normal environment and normal element. What about walking and hiking? Is your dog really good on a leash? And back to, does your dog come when called if he's off leash? Does your dog scare or spook easily? What about sleeping? Does your dog sleep easily in new and unfamiliar places? Or do you expect that it might be really hard for him or her to settle down when you're bouncing around to lots of different locations? What about stimulation? How does your dog handle meeting new people, encountering new dogs, being in new places every day? You have to remember, for most dogs, they're used to being home a lot of the time, or maybe they go to a doggy daycare, or they're out and about and for walks and things, but that's all familiar to them. But how's your dog going to handle new things all day, every day? So that's a big one in my book. And then that leads to anxiety. Does your dog get easily upset or anxious? Something to consider. And relative to anxiety, for dogs sometimes are thunderstorms or fireworks. If you're potentially going to be in situations like that, think about it ahead of time. That's all. And the last thing about temperament is just attachment to you. So can your dog handle being alone or in the car for a few minutes or in a place of lodging for a while on their own, or are they going to freak out? Because really, it's a rare road trip where you can be with your dog 24/7, even if it's just running in to use a restroom somewhere. Just got to think through, like, how's your dog going to behave in all of these situations? So all of that is related to their temperament, and they're questions that it's not that there's a right or wrong answer. It's just you need to know the answer before you take your dog with you. Okay, the second thing to think about as you consider whether or not to take your dog is his or her physical needs or limitations. So let's talk about exercise first of all. Dogs are all over the map in terms of the kinds of exercise they need. What a pug needs and what a bulldog needs is a very different thing than what an Australian Shepherd or a Labrador needs. So even saying that, many dogs are quite sedentary through many hours a day. And that makes it pretty easy to pop them in the car. But how much does your specific dog need to rip and tear and run and play every day? Does your version of a road trip align with the exercise needs of your dog? That is so important, or you're both going to be miserable. Okay, what about the age of your dog or how mobile your dog is? And can your dog hold his bladder well, or is he prone to accidents? Can your dog get in and out of the car easily? Does he get excessively hot or drink an excessive amount of water? Again, these are just things to think about. You don't ever want to put your dog in a situation where they can't really handle the situation. So I know the first road trip that I ever took off on by myself, I really wanted to take my then 11-year-old golden retriever, Rooney, with me, and I hated leaving him at home. But I was driving from Virginia to the Florida Keys in the middle of the summer, and I was going to be doing some camping, and it was just not a good fit for him. He was old. It was getting increasingly hard for him to get in and out of the car. He was very slow. I wanted to do a lot of hiking. And it just wasn't going to be a good fit, primarily because of the temperature. So I sadly left him at home, but I know that it was the right decision to make at that time. So that leads to talking about special needs for your dog. Does your dog have access or need access to specific medicine or supplements or any kind of training aids that maybe that's difficult for you to take along with you? You don't want them to miss out on the things that they really need. And then what about food? Is your dog on a schedule that you need to keep to while traveling? And is there food and their medication? Is it easy? Is it dry food that's super easy to take along? My dog is on a raw diet, so it's a whole lot more complicated. And I'll have to do a video on that another time, but it definitely makes it harder. It's doable, but it's much harder. And also, in terms of being on a schedule, I can say that my dog, Lexi, she's a golden retriever, and if you have a golden or you've been around a golden, they have little alarm clocks in their head when it's time to eat. And if you're not on their schedule, they don't really like it. So she's used to eating at a certain time every day, and she lets me know at precisely that time that it's time for her to eat. So I do push the envelope a little bit with her when we're road tripping, and she tends to be a little more agreeable when we're on the road. But I do have to factor it into my day. When is it time for the dog to eat? So there you go. I know who's in charge. I know. I'm just saying. So you just have to decide for yourself. Okay, the last thing in terms of this section is just your vehicle. Can you provide enough room for your dog to travel comfortably? Can you keep your dog cool enough, warm enough, whatever the season might be? So it's a lot of it's about comfort, and it's not spoiling your dog. It's just giving them exactly what they need to be comfortable so that the experience can be a blessing for both of you. All right, the third and final factor to consider when you are trying to decide if you can take your dog on a road trip is adjusting your itinerary and being flexible with your priorities. So think about this for a minute. Traveling with your dog will absolutely impact many facets of your itinerary. You just can't help it. It's vital to think through how your pet is going to be affected by these few things. So first of all, your basic itinerary. Does the trip that you have planned in your mind easily conform to adding your little four-legged friend? If not, then either leave the dog at home or adjust your itinerary. It's as simple as that. The next one is hotel cost. Hotels are almost always adding a pet fee per night, although it is increasingly easier to find pet-friendly hotels these days, so that's not a big deal in terms of finding them, but make sure in your budget that you're keeping that in mind. It is more expensive. How about activities? Are the places that you plan to visit welcoming to pets? That's something you absolutely need to find out in advance. And I'm going to give you one example where things could go really wrong if you didn't know this, and that is national parks. So if you're planning to visit national parks, know that in almost all cases, your dog is welcome to be with you in the park if they're in the car with you, or if you're in a parking lot, or if you're in a campground. But it is a rare national park, although there are a few where you can actually go hiking with your dog. So that can have a definite impact on your destinations for the summer. So keep that one in mind. How about destination? So whether you're staying at a friend's house or an Airbnb or a hotel, just make sure, double, triple check that it is a dog-friendly environment. I had one issue last summer in Canada. Lexi and I were staying at this boutique hotel. It was really cool, and I had definitely scoped out ahead of time to make sure that it was pet-friendly. And I read it on the website several times, and there were some rooms that were and some rooms that weren't. And I was certain that I had booked the proper room, and we were there, and we had a great time, and all the things happened, and whatever, and we left. And on my way to the next destination, I got a phone call from an irate person at the hotel telling me that I had broken their rules and had a dog in a room where I hadn't told them. And it was an honest mistake. Whether it was their mistake or mine, I have no idea. But it did make me think, oh my gosh, I need to check even more carefully. So I had to pay a little bit extra for a cleaning fee, and then everybody just went on their merry way. But it wasn't ideal. So do check. Okay, just two more things. Dining out. So you're going to eat out probably sometimes when you're on your road trip. What kind of eating out do you plan to do, and can your dog do it with you? There are lots of outdoor restaurants now that certainly will let your dog sit with you. And how does your dog behave in an outdoor restaurant too? Are they going to drive everybody crazy? Are they going to sleep under the table? Just make sure that you figure that out if you're going to be eating out. And I will say that on road trips where I have Lexi with me, I definitely eat out less than road trips where I am without her. But there are an increasing number of restaurants that allow her, and it is fun sometimes to have her there and sometimes there's a dog menu, which is really fun. Okay, the last thing in terms of adjusting your itinerary or being willing to adjust your itinerary are just the priorities for your pet's exercise. So are you willing to prioritize exercise for your dog every day, even if that means altering your plans? So if your dog, it's a good idea every morning when you're on the road to take a long walk or whatever, what your dog needs. But if they need a lot of exercise, like get it out of their system early so that they can be a better companion and a better traveler during the day. I do that with Lexi every single day. And it's good for me too. I need to get out and get moving and whatever and see what's going on. And I did tell you there would be one tip that I was saving for the end, and it applies to quite a few of the things that we just talked about. And it's an app that you should absolutely have on your phone if you are traveling with a dog, and it is called Bring Fido. I have done another video that includes a bunch of apps for road tripping, and one of those apps is Bring Fido. So I will share it here so you can watch it and learn the details about it. But in a nutshell, Bring Fido is the coolest app. It's all about how to travel with your dog and find pet-friendly activities. You can find vets, you can find pet shops, you can find pet-friendly lodging. You can actually book lodging through the site. You can find pet-friendly dining and fun activities, hiking that is pet-friendly in the areas where you're going to be. It's a free app, and I love it, and I use it all the time when I'm traveling with Lexi. So absolutely put that on your phone and check out the video to learn more about it. I'm so glad that you joined me here today at Winterbing Travel as you try to decide whether you should take your pooch on your next road trip or not. I hope this was super helpful information. You can find much more about not just taking your dog, but just all kinds of things related to road tripping, especially seeking a life-changing, transformational experience on a road trip. Please check out my book, There's Wonder Around the Bend. It is available on Amazon now, and you can order it at the link in the description below. Check out that Bring Fido video too. And of course, subscribe to our channel. Lexi and I would love to have you along for the ride.